Hello, and welcome to another ohmTown Daily News Show. I don't know why I was talking so slow. Anyway, I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. That's what oh my gosh. That is what powers the ohmTown Daily News Show, and today is September 13th, 2022. I'm doing something a little different again. I've stopped streaming to ohmTown. However, or sorry, not ohmTown, to YouTube. However, I'm still streaming to Twitch, and by way of that, it's going to send it over to YouTube for long-term storage. That's largely because I've had some conversations about YouTube and discoverability. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask. And as I tell people, there is no such thing as human multitasking. We do a thing called fast switching. And a lot of people really get irritated when I say that. But let me assure you, you don't multitask. You fast switch. And while some people may think that they do, you don't. If you want to talk about it, we can. Anyway. I've already selected a bunch of articles, as you know, and if you are new here, thanks for coming and hanging out. Happy to answer questions. Feel free to throw whatever you want into chat. We can have a conversation. The aggregator that I use outside of the last year, has always been producing kind of an aggregated product for me to review news. And I put it all together because, well, there was a lot of news that I had to filter through. And so I made it so that it filters it into these 6 main categories right here. I won't go through them all, but it filters it into 50 additional channels. Go and check them out. Come back, chat with me. The very first article that we're going to talk about today, though, is in the Reality Hacker channel, which is about super realistic computer or hyper realistic computer graphics, deep fakes, things like that, and VR, AR, etc. And this says here, VR vet phaser lock announces co-op dino hunting game called Primal Hunt. So Phaser Lock Interactive, the VR studio behind Final Assault and Twisted Arrow, announced an upcoming co-op dinosaur hunting game that pits you against a Jurassic Park's worth of mighty beasts, even a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Which, by the way, if you don't know this, they're very angry because they have a very itchy body but tiny little hands. So they are really irritated because they can't scratch. Little known fact, it's not really developed in the prehistoric record, but whenever they do find bones of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, it obviously looks like it's pissed off. And it's because it can't scratch and itch. And they're very territorial, so they don't even come up to each other to, facilitate scratching. Anyway, called Primal Hunt, the cross-platform co-op game gives you a variety of armor and weapons as you track down and fight the deadliest creatures who have ever walked the earth. I thought that was man. Let's follow the link. In the meantime, I'll throw that link into chat. Oh, yeah, and I stopped streaming to YouTube because the discoverability is horrible. I've never seen such low engagement in all of the 9 months that I've been streaming. I've never empirically seen it. And when I started doing nothing but live over there, plummeted. But archived, recorded, pre-recorded stuff is discoverable. So I don't quite get it. It's almost like they don't really want live streaming over there. It just, well, because other people want to do it, let's do it too. Anyway, over at roadtovr.com, is where this article is housed, and Scott Hayden is the author. And I want this game, and I am still waiting for the Valve Index VR headset to be completely wireless, and then I'm all over VR again. I still haven't repaired my ceiling from where I had the tether hanging down from the ceiling. Anyway, the game, which is inspired by the Turok series and the TV show Westworld, is slated to land on Meta Quest 2, HTC Vive Focus, and Pico headsets sometime in early 2023. I really hope that it gets over to Steam, because I want to just be able to download it and run it on the Valve Index. I'm really not interested in any other headset for some reason. The studio also released a short teaser video, and that's in the article. You'll have to go over there and watch that. One of these days, I might do another episode uh, where I can watch all of these things. And if I get takedown notices, then I'll just wipe it. I mean, this is really frustrating because I want to be able to watch and discuss these things, but for whatever reason, my account, if you have to sit there and fiddle fart around with justifying my existence as to why I used or listened or watched or did whatever I wanted to do with the article, it would just drive me nuts. Anyway, not interested. That said, let's move on to the next article, which is in the Stock Marketeers channel. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the market today, but it kind of wet the bed. It collapsed 1,200 points, right? Was it the full 1,200 or did it hit 13? It went down 1,276.37 points today. That was the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The S&P 500 went down 177.72. The NASDAQ dropped 632, so somewhere between 4 and 5% across all of those. And it's largely because of an inflation report that came out, and it said that it's somewhere around 8.3%, which I still think is low and rather manipulative in its data set. I think the realized inflation rate is closer to 11. That said, there's a whole bunch of other measures like core inflation and headline inflation that talks about what the inflation rate is with or without the volatile aspects like gas prices. I think that stuff like that is kind of mealy mouthed, and the argument is, well, this is a little bit more respective of this amount of data. Well, no, not to consumers. To consumers, the reality is that prices on the shelves are through the roof. Gas prices might be deflating, but it's because the producers of the product are getting slapped around by the public. And they know that if they don't lower their prices, people are going to just, I don't know, charge the headquarters or something. I have no idea. I don't know what's going to happen. I do know that people were getting really pissed off, and they were blaming the wrong people. They should have been screaming at the corporations because they're the reasons why the prices are high. Or talk to your state. Again, talk to your state. State taxes are high. But, we didn't see either of that. We saw people yelling at the president. So, desperate times call for desperate measures, and this might be one of those times. Persistently high inflation might force the Federal Reserve to resort to the biggest increase in a key U.S. interest rate in more than 40 years. So, this next article, the one that I just linked to, is the biggest Fed rate hike in 40 years might be coming. And this article is over at marketwatch.com. Jeffrey Bartash is the author. Nomura predicts a full percentage point increase in the U.S. interest rate, which is going to be spectacular considering the previous interest rate. So let's continue on here. After another dismal U.S. inflation report, economists at the brokerage Nomura Securities on Tuesday became the first on Wall Street um, to predict a full percentage point increase in the Fed's benchmark short-term rate. Quote, we continue to believe markets underappreciate just how entrenched U.S. inflation has become and the magnitude of response that will likely be required from the Fed to dislodge it. They make it sound like there's a peanut wedged between teeth. When this is of their own creation, this is of their own greed. They stick the money into a system that does not do a single solitary thing for the public except create wealth for the wealthy, the people that are capable of consolidating their wealth and putting it into the stock market. They demand a return on their investment that is irrational exuberance. And when everybody hypes up a stock and the stock goes up and there's more money in the system, so they leverage more, you end up basically money begetting money, with wealth without value, so to speak, is what I refer to it as. In August, the consumer price index rose a scant 0.1%. I'd have to look at these numbers. I didn't look at the August number, um, largely because of another big drop in energy prices, and the annual pace of inflation slowed a bit from 8.3 to 8.3 from 8.5. Again, I think it's closer to 11, the real inflation rate. And I don't lightly use those type of words like real, these modifiers, real American, real vanilla. But what was virtually all good news, the cost almost everything rose last month, including food, rent, clothes, furniture, cars, medical care, so forth. So that was all of the good news, that it slightly declined from 8.5 to 8.3. And this article even talks about core rate and probably they drop headline in there too. But anyway, the so-called core rate of consumer inflation climbed to a yearly pace of 6.3% in August from 5.9 in the prior month, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Yeah, I think that it's going to continue. You can't keep on growing, folks. It just doesn't work that way. And somehow along the way, record profits. Let's move on to the next article. The next article is in the order of the bean, and it is 7 pounds of coffee just sold for $42,000. Well, there you go. Lots of money in the system. Lots of money. It all went to banks and other institutions. Very little has gone, or since 2008, very little of it has gone to the individual. But it sure as hell has been concentrated into the very wealthy, with mega corporations making the bulk of their profits in the last 2 years, outstripping every other year upon year upon year. Yet, not many people have seen that money themselves. Well, $42,000 of coffee, and it's only 7 pounds. Shows wealth. A geisha produced by the Lamastus family in Panama fetched over $6,000 a pound. Let's click this link. This is over at sprudge.com. Hey, if you got it, spend it. But Lamastus Family Estates auction. There's a new world's most expensive coffee. In a private auction, the renowned Lamastus family smashed the world record for most expensive coffee with a winning bid north of $6,000 per pound. Hosted by auction house Sensible Coffee, the Lamastus private auction took place Tuesday, September 6th, bringing a total of 24 lots produced on their estate. Alida, El Burro, and Luido, all geishas. 1,762 total pounds of coffee netted $601,000 with an average sale price of $341.24 per the Lamastus family estates. But the star of the show was the geisha Aguacatillo. from the Alita Estates with a winning bid of $6,034 per pound. There were only 7 pounds of it, too. Seems like it's a wild price. The new world record holding unscored coffee over doubles the price fetched by the previous record holder, a 94.75 point natural fermented geisha produced by Finca Nugio, I guess, in Panama. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Coming in at $2,568 per pound for the 100-pound lot. Wow, that's a lot of money to spend on coffee. You know, I love coffee. I brew my coffee exactly how I want it, when I want it. But I don't think I could ever, even if I had $42,000 to buy 7 pounds of coffee, I don't think I could ever justify that. Let's move on to the next article. If you're an avid reader, apparently there's a new Kindle on the block. Amazon's new Kindle offers twice the storage, a sharper screen, and USB-C for only $100. For years, Amazon's Kindle Paperwhite has been the best Kindle for most people to buy compared to the standard no additive Kindle. It was the first to get a front-lit, high-resolution screen, waterproofing, and USB-C. The list goes on. But today, Amazon announced a new $100 Kindle that is almost all of the best features from the latest Paperwhite for $40 less. The new device is available for pre-order now and to be released October 12th. Compared to the previous generation Kindle, the new 11th generation bumps the pixel density from 167 ppi up to 300 ppi. That just makes everything better to read, by the way, if you're not familiar with that ppi. Pixels per inch. It increases the resolution so that you get crisper lines. The same level as Amazon's other Kindles. This makes text appreciably sharper and nicer looking. And the storage has doubled. And text is pretty highly compressible, so that is a lot of books stored. And the fact that they've swapped it from micro USB to USB-C is just a spectacular bump. So I'll be updating the Kindles to that new one here. Early Christmas presents, I suppose. Let's move on to the source. Andrew Cunningham over at Ars Technica wrote this article. $10 more expensive than it used to be, but the improvements are worth it. I'd say so. This one is lighter than the other ones that I have purchased as gifts. And let's see if there's anything else in here. The Paperwhite does still have some of the important advantages over the basic Kindle. The front light for its larger 6.8-inch screen uses 17 LEDs instead of the LED, the Kindle's 4 for smoother and more uniform lighting. And the color temperature of its front light can be adjusted if you prefer warmer. So the Paper Signature Edition holds up to 32 gigs of storage, an auto brightness sensor, and wireless charging. And most importantly, all Paperwhite models are IPX8 waterproof for use in the bathtub or in a swimming pool or at the beach. I know when I go to my local bathtub and pool, I like to swim around with and the beach, of course. I like to swim around while I read. Maybe the bathtub is okay, but the swimming pool, come on. I know water splashes on people. Oh, gosh. I just can't be facetious at all, can I? I'll get in trouble with somebody. This next article is over in the Constructagon category. And, or channel, I should say. Top 10 best 3D printed masks for Halloween. It's right around the corner, folks. They say, is it too early? No, not really. 3D printing takes a considerable amount of time. Maybe not a month, but let's just go straight over to the source. Boo. Well, 3dinsider.com just scared the pants off of me with a 3D mask, but Joseph Flint wrote this article. It's kind of an older article, but it's been it popped up in my aggregator, so I decided to grab it. You can print a Stormtrooper mask. Why people are texting me while I'm streaming, even though I tell everybody to go away. Don't know. Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. Low poly masks. No face. That's from Spirited Away. A psycho mask. Evil skull mask. I don't know about that one. Plague Doctor. That one's been around for a while. Ram skull. That might be sufficiently evil. A Venom mask and Jason Voorhees mask. Yeah, that's from Friday the 13th, but you'll have to paint it the proper color for you to actually be correct for the movie. Anyway, that's only 10, and that's from the 3D Insider website. Let's move on to the next article. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a thumbnail somewhere. Okay, so this next one I think is really interesting and very important. So there's this is in the Word in Tech. The dot plot aims to help women self-check at home and track any changes they may find on an app. It's a new tool to spot breast cancer at home, and it wins the UK Dyson Award. So let's click this link and takes us over to BBC News and an article by Shiona McCallum. And it's a technology reporter. So we'll scroll down here. It's a new gadget, and the dot plot aims to help women self-check at home and track any changes that they may find on an app. And breast cancer is the second most common cause of cancer death in the UK, but many women do not carry out regular self-examinations. This is going to sound weird, but if you are the significant other to somebody who, has breasts, you can actually facilitate that by helping the examination process in a less clinical way, and without what might be the internal bias of a person who doesn't want to find at any cost and be cognizant of it, right? So I've had some conversations with people, it's anecdotal, and really people don't self-examine because if they do find something, the reality of having breast cancer sets in immediately. Um, but you can facilitate it, and you have their best health in mind, and you are without bias, arguably, right? So you would tell them, I hope. And I've been through this. So going through this, as a matter of fact, it doesn't really end once it's discovered. You kind of live with it as a shadow looming over you and the other person, kind of in perpetuity. So once then you have to start dealing with it. And although you aren't the one that's going to suffer as much from it, at least you can be there and not delay in getting treatment. So users build a personalized map of their torso by inputting their breast size and shape and pressing the handheld device over their chest. And once a month, sound waves are used to record tissue composition. And if there's any suspicious changes or abnormalities, users are advised to see a healthcare professional. And that right there takes one of the things away from interpretation of what somebody doing a self breast examination suffers from. They don't know what it is that they may be looking for. They just might every once in a while. Is it not? I can put it off because it doesn't seem obvious. But using technology, you may be able to move away from the interpretation and have something that is basically yes or no. And then, hey, you got an abnormality, go and talk to somebody, a professional, and take care of it. So it says the earlier cancerous tissue is detected, the better. Absolutely. 5-year survival rate for stage 1 breast cancer is about 95%, which drops to about 25% by the time the cancer is in stage 4. Stage 4 being the highest. Every year, there's about 11,500 breast cancer deaths in the UK. Only 1% of the cases are in males. Yes, males can still get it. We actually suffer more from prostate and testicular cancer and colon cancer. But uh, nobody's immune from anything anywhere, really. Well, some, some, there's some differences between us, but anyway, about 64% of women between 18 and 35 fail to regularly check their breasts, according to Cancer Research UK and Coppafield, which is an interesting name, but intentional. Quote, it's important that you check all over the breast, including up into the armpit and up into the collarbone. And that's because there's lymph nodes that can be that can contract cancer, that can actually follow um, ducting and nerves into the breast. And yeah, it's quite a thing. And a lot of people discount this next aspect in a considerable way, and they call it nipple discharge. It's hard for somebody to talk about this kind of stuff, but the reality is, if you have anything that even remotely resembles something that you're not used to, go and get it checked by a professional. Because this alone, this nipple discharge, being put off even a little bit, um, could make the difference between um, breast surgery to remove a lumpectomy, or taking some medicine, getting radiation therapy without chemo, all kinds of treatments, all because you took it upon yourself to not just say, oh, well, it's something hormonal or whatever. Take care of it. Don't delay, please. There's a lot more in this article, but suffice it to say that a tool like this removes guessing, but also don't rely on it entirely. Still do a manual examination, um, and keep yourself healthy, folks. There's only one you. The next article is in the Mobile channel, and judge allows. This is such a juxtaposition. Anyway, judge allows a McFlurry machine repair lawsuit to proceed. The McDonald's McFlurry is a delicious treat that people have a hard time finding because the machine breaks down all the time. Thanks to a third-party device made by an independent company called Kitch, the machines can be made to be easier to maintain and break down less. Taylor, the company that makes the McFlurry machine, has been engaged in a long-running legal dispute about whether Taylor could prevent Kitch devices from being used on the machines, and Kitch won an important victory in that long-running legal battle. I have absolutely no problems with this. So Matthew Galt is the author of this over at Vice.com. I don't really care about the McFlurry. I don't care. What I do care about is competition and the way that their contracts are built, and the complexity and cryptic nature of the information that's provided by these machines makes it basically so that McDonald's um, franchisees have to use that company, and they charge exorbitant prices. Well, with the Kitch device, it's much more obvious about what the issue is and how to remedy it, even resetting it and moving along. Before Kitch came along, Taylor had a repair monopoly on the McFlurry machine. When the thing broke down or hadn't been cleaned, the machine would shut down entirely, and only a certified Taylor technician could get it going again. That's why it can be so hard to find McFlurries. The machine often breaks down and the tech has to be dispatched. Some of the documents that I have seen, either in video or in person, say somewhere around $800 just to get somebody to come out. Let me see if it doesn't have any prices in here. But it's quite expensive to get somebody just to come out if somebody can come out in a timely manner. So, in a court document filed on August 26, 2022, a judge allowed Kitsch's restraining order to proceed. In its original filing, Kitsch alleged 10 different claims against Taylor, including that it had falsely advertised its product and engaged in unfair competition. Correct, I agree. The judge agreed with Kitsch on 7 of these points. The court will sustain Taylor's demurrer as to the second, tortious interference, sixth, intentional interference with business expectancy, and seventh, negligence interference with business expectancy causes of action, the filing said. And the court rejects Taylor's other arguments and will overrule its demurrer on those grounds. So there are certain things that I think the court should have agreed with Kitsch with, including that Taylor is interfering with Kitsch's business in an anti-competitive manner to prevent an intrusion on their profits. And I think one of the reports that I said that the bulk of Taylor's profits come from these contracts with franchisees. It's been a while since I looked into it, so maybe I can find it again. I don't know currently. It's been about 4 years since I last looked into this kind of thing. It's been maybe 4 years, a considerable amount of time. So, but there's a little gadget that you basically plug into the McFlurry machine and allows you to adjust things, reset it without calling a Taylor tech. Anyway, let's move on to the next article. In the Law Nerd channel, all the lies that Law and Order told us. Do you believe Law and Order? There's a lot of shows that I watch where I'm listening for things where I have experience in them and I go, nope, that's not true. Nope, that's not true. My significant other is in the same boat where we're like, nope, that's not true. That's complete fabrication. Oh my gosh, that's an out and out lie, that kind of a thing. We go through shows like that. I'm just shocked that it's conducted in that way, but it's more exciting and more difficult to explain the reality of it. So entertainment is at odds with reality. Hell, that's why I don't like reality TV shows, because it's mostly fake. So what does watching the show do to our brains? Let's go over to abovethelaw.com and have a quick review of what Catherine Rubino says over at abovethelaw.com. All the lies that Law and Order told us. So it says, this week on John Oliver, the host takes on the TV show that launched 1,000 legal careers, Law and Order. You can and should watch the full rant below, but the premise is that the show and other similar procedural dramas, this is drams. Is that just a typo, or is that something idiomatic? Anyway, creates a skewed view of the police, casting them as crime-stopping heroes when, well, that's not the case. As Oliver notes, one study found viewers of crime dramas are more likely to believe the police are successful at lowering crime, use force only when necessary, and that misconduct does not typically lead to false confessions, which would be great if it were true, but if you're watching this show, you probably know it's not. Yeah. And this pretty much summarizes what I say regularly, which is the people that need to listen and learn do not listen and learn because they are willingly ignorant and willingly believe what they want to believe. And it's rarely the facts. I would love to figure out why it is that way, but that is a very long tail sociological discussion, probably outside the scope of this 1 hour show. It says, for all the admitted downside, the author will note that watching reruns of Law and Order absolutely got them through evidence class in law school. Yeah, maybe. So they link, basically, they don't go into great detail, but they link to the show. If I do that, on this stream and actually click this link, I'll probably get a takedown notice. So I'm not going to bother. So let's move on, but you can follow the link over to Above the Law, please, and watch that via their site. So credit is where credit is due. This next article is over in the Wanted channel, and that's typically about things that we want but can't get, but maybe in time it'll be gotten. Not begotten. There's a space in there. Be got. Never mind. I'll move on. Intel is working on making its Thunderbolt technology support a throughput of 80 gigabits, small b bits, capital B bytes. That would be on par with upcoming USB 4 version 2.0 specification and double the throughput of today's Thunderbolt 4. I think that we should probably just stick with USB 4, USB 3, USB-C. That said, Thunderbolt 4 symmetric data transfer supposed to be pretty darn quick. I haven't used Thunderbolt connectivity in so long, I don't even know really why it matters anymore. But in certain industries, it's actually pretty important. Intel showed a video of the first test system using a Thunderbolt connection running at 80 gigabits today. Tom's Hardware reported from the Intel Development Center in Haifa, Israel. The demo was not live, and the company didn't provide a name or release date for the next generation of Thunderbolt, so we expect it to be a while before consumers start seeing this kind of performance in products. Thunderbolt cables are always really short, stubby little things, and you have to basically keep them, that far apart from one another. Actually, that's not true. Maybe a foot, I think, or two. Thunderbolt connectivity reportedly hit 80 gigabits by use of the two Thunderbolt lanes, with each one running at 40 gigabits, so throughput really is 40 gigabits. USB-C becoming increasingly popular among gadgets, and some countries considering and pushing for a USB-C mandate for electronics. I will never produce anything electronic unless it's powered by USB-C connectivity. It's not surprising to hear that the demo ran over the slim connector. So if you don't know, you can run Thunderbolt pretty much over anything, and USB-C is that. Basically, there's communication on both sides to optimize the data transfer. It speeds it all up as fast as possible, doing the error correction in line instead of just sending it all, and then you find out that it has a bad error somewhere. But anyway, Thunderbolt is USB-C if the Thunderbolt chipset is in place. So let's click the link. And Sharon Harding is the author. It's going to be speedy. I don't know if it really matters. I'm sure it will to some that are using Thunderbolt connectivity. You can daisy chain stuff. I don't know. We'll see. So that's all that they know about Intel's Thunderbolt. But the USB-IF has said that USB 4 will double the throughput of USB 4 by using a new physical layer architecture, and USB 4 will be 80 gigabits. And is supposed to work over upcoming 80 gigabit active USB-C cables, as well as 40 gigabit passive USB-C cables that you can buy today. So, does Thunderbolt matter anymore? Has its time come and gone? Let's move on. The next article is in the Word in Tech, and this one is Twitter. Twitter shareholders approved that $44 billion Elon Musk buyout. So let's pen Elon Musk in a little bit more. Reports yesterday suggested that a wide margin of approval was expected. So this is posted on September 13th. I thought that this was already done and done. But apparently not. I thought this was already done and approved, but the shareholders apparently now approve a $44 billion acquisition by Elon Musk. Come on, Musk. We know that you Oh God, there's a really bad joke here that I'm not gonna get involved in. I'll just leave it alone. The approval means that Musk and Twitter will proceed to an October trial in the Delaware Court of Chancery. Musk is set to argue that Twitter concealed important facts about its internal operations, including an alleged undercount of spam and bot counts on the platform, as well as details revealed by former Twitter security head Peter Mudge Zatko. Twitter will push to close the deal regardless, alleging that Musk's complaints are merely a pretext for backing out. Somehow, I think that Twitter will walk away with a cool $750 million. And that will be quite the coup. The next article, and there's some really big revelations lately. Paramount is considering shutting down Showtime and migrating its content to Paramount Plus. This is artificial scarcity and rather anti competitive, but is it really, considering Paramount's in control? So if they want to shut down Showtime and migrate it over to Paramount, I suppose they can. Is the show going to be over for Showtime? Paramount Global is having early discussions about shutting down Showtime as a standalone service and migrating Showtime's slate of premium content to its flagship streamer, Paramount Plus. According to a Wall Street Journal report citing anonymous sources, Paramount has broached the idea of shuttering Showtime. Let's click the link. That was in the continuity report if you are oh so interested. Todd Spangler is the article writer for Variety.com. That's where it's aggregated from and stuffed into my channel called the Continuity Report, which I hope to be a show here on Twitter. If you are oh so interested in doing it, co-hosting or hosting, get in touch with me. According to the company insiders, there's no imminent changes being contemplated for the Showtime brand, so I don't know why this is even being broached as an idea if there's no imminent changes. Nobody really should be talking about this publicly. However, sources confirmed to Variety that the media conglomerate is floating the prospect of combining Paramount Plus and Showtime as a part of long-term discussions with distributors. Meanwhile, next week, Sky Showtime, a joint venture between Comcast and Paramount Global, is launching in the Nordic countries of Denmark, Finland, Norway, and Sweden before expanding to the Netherlands in Q4. Wow, that's a lot of work just to get to Netherlands in Q4. In a statement, Paramount did not directly address the question of whether Showtime will continue to exist. So Showtime basically is either a pay-for service in and of itself on cable, or an add-on to something like um, whatchamacallit. My brain just went blank. Satellite TV services, like you pay $5 more, um, and I don't do it, but if it gets pulled into Paramount Plus, will Showtime will the extension of these Showtime movies and shows or whatever cost me $5 more just to expand the feature set? Um, or will it just be rolled in to Paramount Plus and I don't have to pay more? I'm sure that they're batting this around back and forth because there are probably quite a few people who have Paramount Plus and Showtime. Um, So it says the Wall Street Journal report comes less than a month after Paramount combined Paramount Plus and Showtime into a single merged service, letting subscribers access content from both streamers in one place and offering discounts of up to 33% on the Paramount Plus Showtime bundle through October 2nd. So, what is ultimately going to happen? Will they raise the price of Paramount Plus? Or will they keep it as a Paramount Plus Showtime bundle and charge $5 more? Or what's going to happen? Guess we'll see what happens, because this isn't exactly everything that's being planned. So the Showtime as a standalone streaming service costs $11. The Essential plan, Paramount Plus, is the rebranded version of what was previous called CBS All Access. I've been through this so many times now. It boggles the mind. CBS All Access like imploded and became Paramount Plus. It's available in two tiers. The ad-supported Essentials is $5, which excludes access to live streams from CBS local affiliates, and the ad-free premium plan is $10, and then Showtime as a standalone service is $11. And if you want Paramount Plus and Showtime as a bundle, it's $12 as well. For the essential tier, and $15 a month for premium tier, representing discounts of $25 and $28 respectively. So you'll probably end up with ads in the essential tier, and as I said, $5 a month for the premium with Showtime. I suppose when Showtime actually does get shuttered, they're going to raise it another $5, um, because now they're losing anybody who didn't get pulled into Paramount Plus slash Showtime. And they got to make that money back somehow. They'll say it's because of whatever. Um, but the reality is that they're going to artificially constrain and thus have to recoup their money. They're losing money by supporting two platforms. If they consolidate it, they'll lose some money, but they'll make it back because they are going to raise the rate. um, so this last article for today is over in the Four Wheel Tech channel. And it says, "Who said sedans were dead?" I don't know anybody that says that they're dead. The 2023 Genesis G80 is electrified and tested. I'm just going to click straight over to the article. ArsTechnica.com is the source of this article, and Jonathan M. Gitlin is the author of it. And I don't know if you've ever looked at the Genesis line of vehicles, but they are all very sleek, at least in my interpretation. Futuristic. I would say grand with an E at the end there, with up to 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour, which is a weird way of saying exactly how much runtime they have without having to scroll to find out just how big the battery is. Vehicle to load and very fast charging. There's a lot to like, although its wheelbase is probably massive. Recently, ours tested the new Genesis GV60, a sharp little electric crossover, although that car was Genesis' first EV to use new eGMP, which, man, if you want to embody something that really embraces what I just think is a shortcoming in electric vehicles, calling your platform eGimp is probably the best way to drive home the point that I'm not a big fan of current uh, evolutions of EVs. It's technically the brand's second EV. That's because there's also a fully battery electric version of the Genesis G80 sedan called the G80 Electrified. It was first shown in Shanghai last year, but has now arrived on these shores. I'd like to see its safety rating here in the States. The company introduced the internal combustion engine powered G80 in 2020, and it's a competent take on the midsize luxury sedan. But the platform, known internally as M3, BMW will have a problem with that, was designed to support both combustion and electric powertrains. Few automakers today can afford the expense of engineering an entirely new ICE only architecture, given impending regulations around the world. As you might expect, the G80 Electrified shares a lot of the same EV technology as the GV60. It's bigger, $80,000 plus destination fees. There's a whole lot more to this article. I won't go into it all, but just know that the G80 Genesis is pretty darn sleek looking, to me, futuristic. Uh, I don't know. still $80,000 car. So if you're going to be throwing money around, um, let me see. I'm trying to find its actual. Okay, so for this mid-range, or sorry, mid-sized sedan, it has enough battery for a range of 282 miles. It says at least 282 miles, but I would probably hesitate. Um, at least, let's just say it has a battery that will survive 282 miles. I wouldn't push it any other direction. Um, this article has a lot of pictures inside the cabin, outside. It says that it, in sport mode, can hit 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, little over 4 seconds, but every little bit. Got to be precise when you're reporting that kind of a number. People take that number seriously. Well, at any rate, if you have $80,000, maybe you want the G80 electrified. You'll be spending considerable time charging it up wherever you charge it. And that's it for today's show of the ohmTown Daily News Show. This has been Mayor Watt talking about ohmTown. And I hope you stop by there. I hope you come back tomorrow. I do the show at 6 o'clock every day. Somewhere my articles have, or my show notes have been saying 11 o'clock. I need to hunt down where I've made this macro that's doing this, and correct it. My apologies if you're tuning in at 11 o'clock and you're saying, where is this derp? I'll make it up to you somehow. Maybe better reporting of the news. I doubt that. Anyway, hope you dig it. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.